Imagine you're going back into high school, you're 14 years old, and you just found out that your parents, who are undocumented immigrants, the people who you've been living with your whole entire life, you find out they've been deported back to their country. I read the story My Family Divided by Diane Guerrero, and it is her personal memoir of her childhood and her life after her parents got deported back to Colombia, where she was from. Now, Diane is now an actress. She was featured in the series Orange is the New Black, which is a popular Netflix show. And I've seen it. She's awesome at her role. But um, this story is about Diane and her struggle with her parents leaving her at such a young age and having to go back to their country. Diane had to stay with her friends for the next 4 years while she completed high school, and halfway through college, she started to experience depression and have a lot of like really dark thoughts because her parents were gone, and that was a very traumatic thing for her. She was fortunate enough to receive therapy after college or not after college, I'm sorry. She was fortunate to receive therapy during this time through college, and her therapist inspired her to become an actress. And obviously, she is extremely uh, very successful in her career in acting. And obviously the book had a very happy ending. It was a memoir. And it says that it is suitable for grades 5 through 9. Before I get into my impression on the story, this book really makes me think of the students that I had at the school that I was just in. That was 45% English language learners. And of that 45%, 12% were newcomers. And in the county where I worked, a newcomer was considered to be new to the country for 1 year or less. So we had 12% newcomers, and our English language, our EL teacher would work with those students pretty intensely. And a lot of the students, we would get their story, we would get their background from Central Office. Central Office would relay that to our ESL teacher, and then our ESL teacher would relay that to the teachers, to support staff, etc., etc. A lot of these students have the same type of trauma coming into the United States today as Diane did when she was 14, dealing with the deportation of her parents. And these students who are coming here, a lot of them that I experienced were coming here for work with their parents. And a lot of them had a very traumatic experience with coming to Kentucky and coming to Shelby County where I was working. And that really affected their education, and it really affected them socially, emotionally, etc. A lot of these students did experience a lot of they needed a lot of emotional support. And a lot of them kind of needed that therapy that Diane was able, to get in the story. I could totally see this book being used in middle and high school as a book club, and I could see any student being able to read it, but it really does put in perspective what these EL students go through pretty much on a typical basis. I could not imagine being in their shoes. I couldn't. This novel also reminded me when I was in high school at Sacred Heart Academy. I had some girls in my class whose parents were here for work, and they, faced challenges every single day. Everybody was off getting their licenses and being able to drive themselves to school. And I just remember these girls, they weren't able to get their license. They, weren't able to live the same sort of life that we were. And I know that really affected them. And this kind of like puts in perspective that um, I felt like the book, it was great. I read it in a few days, actually. I got pretty hooked. As far as it being suitable for grades 5 through 9, I would probably bump that up a little bit. And the only reason why, there's some pretty heavy topics in this book. A lot of political views, a lot of like trauma related things, a lot of sex, just a lot of really heavy topics that I think a fifth grader would struggle with. So if it was me, I probably wouldn't introduce this book until maybe like seventh or eighth grade and up until, I mean, I would say even till the end of high school. I really do think that, students, especially in those older grades, will be able to relate more and take more from the book. And then they would, be able to empathize with their EL student friends. So let's go back to the beginning. Put yourself in Diane's shoes. You're 14 years old. You find out your parents have been deported back to your home country. What would you do? What would you do if you were Diane? It's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. I don't know what I would do, but I would love on her. I would give her all the love and make sure that she's cared for.